What's going on, ladies and gentlemen? My name is Terminus, and today we are going to react to 𝐸𝐧𝐶 no Frieren episode 14, which is, wow, we're already 14 episodes in, which means we technically already have passed the one season or one core mark with the episodes we are here with. But without any further ado, let's just jump right into it and get the thing on the screen so we can watch through it. What happened last time? That's a good question. We met Psy, whose name means being or existing or whatever. He is a priest, a bit of a corrupt one, but he was a kid with dreams like everybody else, and he had a best friend who wanted to become an adventurer or hero or whatever. In the beginning of the episode, he tells us this story. This guy, his best friend, he always took him to all kinds of shit, right? They did all kinds of shenanigans and adventures in this village. And then he was like, come on, let's go out. Let's go on an adventure. And Psy was like, nah, I'll pass. Which probably is the greatest regret of his life. We do find out a little bit of context later on as to why Psy might have refused, but either way he said he'll be back in 3 years and asks Psy again, but he hasn't been back in 10 years, so obviously that is Psy's great fear. Either way, we start out with a hilarious moment with Frieren just being like, I don't know if I wanna actually get you out of there, but obviously it's Frieren, she's gonna help people, but she's gonna let Psy dangle for a bit, at least until a Fern comes around, and she's gonna be very embarrassed, secondhand embarrassed for Frieren, and is gonna give her a stern talking to later. And Stark's like, not my problem. I'm out. Which fair enough, dude. It's you get enough talkings to by Fern probably. Either way, actually we're supposed to go to the next town over, right? Restock our stuff and just be on our way, so we wouldn't have even stuck around with Psy. But Stark was a dum-dum and got himself bitten, and it was an incredibly poisonous snake that apparently liquefies your brain. That is something I would expect more from Made in Abyss, which I'm currently also watching. Shameless plug. Anyway, and we do have that running gag with like the super small cup, and later on the even smaller scythe that he brings out. He's like, why are we doing so poorly? Why are we impoverishing ourselves like this? But actually, Psy is a genius. He seems to be a very talented priest/mage, because obviously there is other forms of priest. One of the commenters actually told me that Frieren Dead Kraft, when we met him, he's actually more of a monk type, so this is why he's so ripped. And also, apparently, priests are not all magic users, but they can be different varieties of priests, and I'm sure the brother might also not be that versed in spells and whatnot, but he's very versed in treating poisons, and seems to be very functional in this case, because the area around them, and if you travel further from this town or from this village, apparently there's a lot of poisonous things, poisonous animals and plants around. So he even got an award from Hyder. I do recognize this like winged symbol with the scroll in the middle to be the symbol of the goddess, I guess. Or maybe it's not a scroll, maybe it's more a pillar, which means your faith is your pillar in life, right? And kind of on that kind of level. But yeah, he seems to have been kind of a troublemaker when he was young, but the brother would really love for him to go out and rectify his one regret, which was not going out with his friend back then. So we kind of sit around and we're like, okay, we're healed now, but we would like to maybe take a priest with us, because we have a mage in Frieren who can use a wide variety of spells. We do have a second mage with Fern who can also use a wide variety of spells, but we do have no priest who can heal us or whatever. And we see Stark is constantly getting beaten up. He's like, what? That is normal, but obviously it would be much easier if a priest were to come along. And also we would have a second adult in the group, which is very interesting, because Fern and Stark are still very much juvenile. So obviously, regardless of their personalities, Fern is very very serious, very very moral, probably also partially his education by her education by Heiter, despite the fact that Heiter was somebody who drank a lot. But aside from that, he didn't have that many vices, apparently. And yeah, they're very much in favor of taking him with them. Interestingly enough, an aversion to my own kind seems to maybe be the relation that Frieren feels to Sein, that she also had a lot of regrets, and we find that out later in the episode. So yeah, that's a cool thing. And we're up for for gambling, for cigarettes, for alcohol, and he's like, aren't you a little bit too corrupt? But he's not a priest at heart. He's a priest in terms of the magic he does, and also because his brother, as we find out later. But he says, well, this will be interesting. A newcomer, huh? If you can beat me at the card game, poker, I think, or whatever it is, gambling, I'll come along with you. But he knew right away that there's a very low chance that this is going to happen. So he can read people, at least humans, pretty well, and he knows his way around people and whatever. But apparently he can't read them well enough, because they both lose all of their things to the village chief, who is just straight up a boss out there taking names. Yeah, I'm sure he had a lot of fun with that. Yeah, and we do have that little flashback to Frieren when she was encountered by the hero's party, and the hero, like HIMmel, wanted to convince her to come along, and she's like, I haven't fought demons for 500 years. Now, we don't know why that was a thing, right? Why didn't she do it? We saw she did it with Flam. So after Flam, maybe there was some time she needed to process things with, and it's been 1,000 years since Flam, so admittedly there is probably a 200 or 300 year period in between there, that, or maybe even a 500 one, that she did fight demons. So the question is, was she afraid at some point because some demons are just very, very strong? Or did she want to just lower her notoriety for a while so demons wouldn't know her that well? Was she waiting for an adventurous party to go with? But we do see that apparently she hasn't been active, so... And yeah, she was hesitant to go along and to take that next step for whatever reason that might be, that we might probably find out later down the line, because this is how Frieren works in the end. Sooner or later we're gonna find out, and then we're gonna be wiser for it, and we're gonna have a lot of interesting conversations based on it. But HIMmel says to her, I'm talking about the here and now. Not about earlier, not about whatever, right? You come along with us, I'm talking about here and now, you're gonna do it. And she says that to him, but he kind of brushes it off, and then she's like, you piss me off. And why does he piss her off? Well, it's pretty easy, right? Because he reminds her of herself. So she's like, I don't like you, which gives us a very interesting insight into what Frieren might think of herself sometimes. Maybe she doesn't like herself, or let's say maybe she doesn't like a lot of aspects about herself, right? How she is awkward and can't express her feelings all that well, how she, right? The regrets that she has, she blames herself for it, so she sees him kind of as similar to her, and as such she makes it her mission now to convince him to come along. And he's like, what did I do wrong? Please leave me alone. I also find, like, I might want to say that here, I find it very adorable how I don't know if it's before that, actually, We're gonna do this. Bro is so fucking cocky about this. I don't know why you're... What are you cocky about, dude? You're doing nothing. You're basically lost. But yeah. Yeah, he's just afraid of his friend being dead, right? He's afraid that his friend who didn't come back in all this time, that he's actually dead. And yeah. And Frieren, kind of that call that Frieren had reminds him of his friend and how he was like stretching out his hand and being like, come along, come on. We can do this. We'll do it together as friends. But yeah, it's not enough. It's not enough to convince him. Yeah, I find that very adorable that Fern gives Stark her coat. So you do see that she can be very warm and very caring also for Stark in the right moments. And yeah, she gets the stuff back. And she's like, oh, come on, this priest, he's kind of even corrupter than everybody else. I think that this thing about alcohol, where she was like, Frieren, don't you know alcohol is the best medicine? It's actually a joke by Fern. She makes very deadpan jokes, which is creepy on the one hand, but on the other hand, also very funny. With that straight face, with the slight smile. But yeah, I think that was a joke by her, which is very cool that we see her own sense of humor exists, first of all, and also what kind of sense of humor it is. And then they go pestering him and helping him all the time and just being there and being like, hey, we're still here, we still want you to come along. And yeah, then they're kind of contemplating what they want to do, and they find out that he likes older women. And they get the idea in their head that this is gonna work, right? This is gonna work. Like, look how fucking smug she is about that. She's like, that's me. I'm the older woman. I'm the only son. Yeah, it's cool. It's really cool because she's so overconfident and smug about it. Like the last couple of episodes was just hilarious with how smug Frieren turned out to be. But obviously, we do understand. Like we men of culture understand that this is not the same. And it's not about the physical age necessarily. It's about the look. It's about the feel. And Frieren has neither the look nor the feel, at least from what Sein has seen, right? Because Frieren can be mature. Frieren can be wise in a way. But she often also seems rather young for her age. Despite like putting her looks completely to the side, she also seems pretty young in some ways that she behaves, right? She's like, sometimes she's pouting like a child. She's very slow to get out of bed, right? She's relatively lazy sometimes, so she does have a lot of childish sides to her. And then comes the absolute moment of the episode with Frieren throwing out that special move, and she's like, maybe you're too young to appreciate it, Sonny, which is a line that is so completely different from what you're used to, Frieren, that it's like, alright, that's weird. But apparently the behavior really worked on Stark and Fern. I think I know why Stark and Fern really like this behavior. It's because it's completely different from, like I said before, it's completely different from what Frieren did before. But yeah, we talk it out, and he reveals the real reason why he didn't want to come along in the beginning, in the first place, is that he heard that Hydra actually offered his brother a position in the capital, and his brother turned it down because he wanted his younger brother to have a better environment, like an environment he's used to, and not take that away from him because he's lost his parent at a young age already. And yeah, Hydra kind of understands that, but he puts these adventure ideas into Sein's head as well. He says, maybe I'll tell Sein about the my adventures while I'm here. On the one hand, because it's kind of a quip that he realized that Sein is in the back, but also probably that he wanted to give Sein an alternate, right? Like a motivation to go out there in the world and do something beyond just him playing around with friends and whatnot, and wanting to be adventurous. He probably wanted to give him kind of like a lure to say, okay, one of these days when you're older, you can go out there in the world and become an adventurer, and then maybe your brother can be promoted, right? Or be happy in his village, because obviously this is the decision he made and he's happy with it. He's happy that he provided his brother with that comfort. And that smack is kind of like, just, why didn't you ask me? Right? It's one of those tropes where it's like, we didn't communicate with each other, but it's a very useful, like, it's a very popular trope for a reason, because people just don't talk to each other all that often. You see it in everyday life, right? People you know, right? If there's a conflict between them, or they kind of get on each other's nerves, or they kind of distrust each other, they don't know what the other one is thinking, but instead of asking them directly or talking about their feelings and what's on their minds, oftentimes they just talk around it and step around it for months on end, until finally at some point things come to blow, and then maybe you talk it out. But this is not always necessary if you take your time and talk to each other, and that is a very important lesson to learn in life. But yeah, that smacks him out of it, and he realizes that he wants to go out there and he wants to adventure. And yeah, he says he isn't gonna come along for them, he's gonna come along because he wants to do it for himself, which is very important, that you claim that for yourself and say, I want that. Again, very adorable. We have all of these adorable little scenes of Fern and Stark, and he's like, I got a fish, I got one, and Fern's like, great job, you did it. It's the little things, right? You do see the relationship growing. But yeah, with a last look back, he goes on a journey with us, and we're like, where are we even going? Well, we're going to heaven. He's like, we're gonna go there anyway when we die. And Fern just quips back, she's like, you sure you're gonna go there with all the shit you're doing? And he's like, she doesn't mince words, and Stark's like, good luck to both of us. He knows the suffering. But yeah, very, very nice episode. Very nice episode. I do wonder what new adventures we're running into. If we run into Science Friend immediately, I do suspect it's more gonna be 2 or 3 episodes later, and now we're gonna be introduced to a new problem or a new interesting thing. We're still going further north, and we still need to get that certification for Frieren to be first grade mage, so she can go further north and not be held up at checkpoints and whatever. So wonder how that's gonna turn out to be, and if we're actually meeting someone interesting along those lines. But yeah, this is about it for the pre-discussion. I think that's enough. We're just gonna jump right into the episodes, guys. Before we jump into the episodes, there is 2 versions of this episode. I'm switching around a little bit at the moment, but at the moment there is the timer reaction. Actually, there's 3 versions. There's the timer reaction here, if you see this on Patreon early, because it's a lot less stressful and a lot easier to put out the timer reaction early. So I decided I'll put out the timer reaction early, and then a couple of days, like 3 or 4 days later, I'm gonna put out the public version, which is gonna be the edited version. And after that, if the edited version gets taken down, we can just release the timer version for the public, so people have something in exchange for that, where they can click on, where they're like, okay, the episode, he reacted to it, whatever, right? And the 3rd version, obviously, as always, is the picture in the description down below. Pixeldrain and Mega at the moment. Mega's getting kind of full. I'm probably gonna have to switch over fully to Bitchute at some point. But yeah, that's the thing. Other than that, I do have a Discord. I would really like for you to join that one. It's in the description down below. You can join. If the link is actually not working, then then you can go to my latest video. It's probably there, or you can go to my channel page. In my description is actually also a link to the Discord. So please join the Discord. We would love to have you. We'd love to talk to you down there. And maybe, who knows, next time I'm gonna have a vote on something. Made in Abyss gonna be replaced in January, February. I'm gonna hold a vote there for the patrons and whatever, but I need suggestions, so you can suggest series and whatever. And we do also still have the poll going on, or not the poll, but the suggestion phase going on for possible movies I could watch for the 100 subscriber special. I'm also looking for that. So if you have anything interesting to watch, feel free to suggest it. Anyway, if you like my content, like and subscribe. I do also have a Patreon, but more on that at the end of the video. All right, let's look at that. Frieren episode 14 starts in a 3, a 2, a 1. 29 years of the death of 𝐿𝐴 the hero in the Rad region. Rad meaning wheel. All right, shopping, merchandise. That's our goal for today, actually. And we're looking back. What are you thinking, Frieren? You want to go shopping with Fern and Stark? We don't have a new intro yet. Honestly, this intro is a banger. I would be okay with having it for the entire season. Visually, it's great too. But you know what would be cool? If the animations actually changed, right? Like, we do have a normal intro. And then we get, like, at some point in the season, we get different animations to show different characters and different things happening, which would be really cool. Even if they're just slightly altered. And the goal of the Demon King's castle on the ground, right? While they're on their journey. Still the ring. We're gonna meet Kraft again, and we're gonna maybe meet 𝐏𝐷. And this one, whoever that is. Closing the gap. And taking the step. Privilege of the young. Alright. Oh, okay. They have their first fight. What were they arguing about? He's saying it too. He's a shipper. Oh, that is... I mean, he didn't memorize the discussion. Didn't memorize the tradition. There might be more to it. Oh, she's gonna explode. Holy shit, Fern is a force of nature. But like I said, he didn't internalize that, right? Because it was never a thing for him. So it's quite possible that he just didn't forgot because of that. But maybe because he was like, why didn't she listen to me? So maybe there was something else about it. I mean, I get her, right? Presents are kind of, at least in our culture, it's a way to confirm if somebody cares about you, even if that's not necessarily always true, and it often turns into obligation. She didn't go to him. She doesn't know what to say. I mean, that's... Talking like an old man. I mean, he just turned 18. Yeah. You said it's your birthday today, and he was like, is that so? Oh, maybe he wanted to do the same thing. Yeah, maybe make it a tradition, right? Pick a gift together. That too, that too. Once again, the thing Frieren said. That's interesting, because Frieren would have probably just passed it by and maybe said something much later. But he fits well into the dynamic. I like it. HIMmel once again. And Stark looking at him. Resolve, Stark. Resolve. Alright. That's perfectly fine, I guess. He doesn't know how to act, that's fine. She's still saying Stark-sama. Very interesting how she addresses him. I wonder if it's just her being formal, or if it's actually the respect she puts into it. I need to listen more to how she addresses Frieren, but especially how she addresses Sein, because Sein is pretty new to their dynamic. What are you doing, Frieren? Spying on rooftops? She's just concerned. Watching over the kids, that's kind of cute. Not really, but she's very Haiter, probably. Oh, now we get the real tea. It's upping the stakes here. You grow a little bit wiser with age, I guess. I think that's a precious thing, though. Oh. If that doesn't feel very relatable. Very wise, I see, very wise. Frieren maybe, or the goddess. The goddess. And he throws it back to him. I do really love her facial expressions. Oh, that is great. He is to praise, right? And pretending to be an adult. Look at how concerned he is. In the Banda Woods, right? Band woods, not as in band, but as in Band of the Hawk. So are there bandits here? Oh, she notices. Oh, okay, interesting. Oh, and 𝐿 gave it to her. I mean, I know you threw it back into the thing. Oh, she's like... I love you, Frieren. Oh, shit, ambush. It's not an ambush, it's a monster. This is fun. Oh, that is very interesting. It's a repurposed demon spell. Okay, so you can't do it with the carriage. What was Aizen able to? What the fuck is up with you, Aizen? Bro, dude dives headfirst into... Aizen, what is up with you? No, this is gonna turn into a roller coaster. Alright, time for some action. What is she gonna do? Alright, what happened to flying out? How are they still alive? What is the horse doing? Roach, is that you? Oh, holy shit, Frieren. You can be glad that everyone is alive. We got the working beat, the working blues. Oh, are you looking for the ring? I hope you didn't lose it. Oh, we fucked it again. Oh, this is gonna be a hard start, I'm sorry. Oh, okay. You didn't know? No, she likes it. Don't worry about it, Stark. But that's what makes him adorable, right? That he worries. That he is like that, right? Sometimes he's a doofus, but obviously he means well and he cares a lot about people. Frieren, what are you doing? Get the hammer yourself. Ah, we're feasting tonight. You wanna make me hungry again? I mean, I have something to eat over there, but I'm gonna grab it after we're finished with the reaction. I do really love these montages. They give you a real feeling of the world, right? A feeling for the world. It's like when you're in a video game and you're walking through a town that you're questing in, and all that music plays and you see the landscapes around and you just slowly making your way through it and you really get a feel for the place before you move on to the next place. It's a really great feeling. She's looking for the ring. And she's gone out every night, so it shows how important it is to her. Yeah, I mean at some point you gotta... And she knows what it means now. Yeah, she didn't know. Of course she didn't know. I don't know. HIMmel really liked flowers. What a surprise. How convenient. Oh, that is a really nice shot. After the Demon King, okay. Oh, but he lets her choose? She picked it by mistake, and he's amused by it. Chance is an interesting force sometimes, isn't it? This just makes me sad, honestly. Oh no, don't. Don't. And of course the bell is ringing. Of course he is. And he's hurt. Yeah, I'm alright. Barely, okay? Just kills me, honestly. All these grand gestures. He really tried. He didn't say it out loud, I guess. At least as far as we know, but he did everything except saying it out loud to give us the hint. I mean, it's nice as well, right? Because this time that she spent with him, that's not gonna go away. It's gonna always be precious for her. But I feel like things would have been different. Maybe she could have spent those 50 years with him and not going out and collecting spells and whatnot. Then again, I mean, do we know if she would have been able to do all these duties that she wanted to do? But they could have done them together, right? They could have done them together. And for me personally, that would be the regret, of course. Oh, we're getting into... Smells like trouble. To the next village, and we're going probably for that Stark background that we've established a couple of episodes ago with Stolz. More on that later. Right, let's wrap it up. Let's see you on YouTube, guys. Right away. Alright, I haven't refilled my tea, but it's fine. We're gonna get our tea afterwards. 29 years after the death of HIMmel the hero, and we're in the Rad region, which is a mercantile region, kind of like, right? The wheel of the merchant's carriage, which makes perfect sense to me. And we start out with Fern being incredibly peeved about Stark for getting... Well, we start out with Frieren reminiscing a little bit about when they came to that town with the heroes party. But Stark is getting beaten up by Fern because, he didn't buy her a birthday present, which... I mean, I guess that's important in a lot of cultures, right? Tanjobi presents. But we have to keep in mind, of course, that Stark is not used to this kind of tradition, right? Because he didn't grow up with birthday presents, as we found out, I think, 2 episodes ago. And Fern herself found that out very, very quickly, so it's very interesting to see her being kind of a little bit stuffy about it, but it makes sense, right? I mean, she's already mad here, and she gets mad at Sign being like, I didn't get you anything either, but I think she only gets mad at Sign here because he throws it back at her and because she's already mad. She wouldn't probably be mad about Sign not getting her anything if it wasn't for Stark having doing the same thing right the moment before that. And why that is the case is obvious. We have it even Sign going in being like, the lovebirds, did they argue, or did they have an argument? And I'm like, holy shit, it's Titus Shipper, yes. But yeah, but he didn't forget. We find that out throughout our discussion here. He did not forget, actually. He just wanted to pick out a birthday present with her, and he didn't know how to say it because he was afraid that she'd get mad. And now we have that little misunderstanding trope again, where it's like, you're afraid that somebody will get mad if you do something, or if you did something, and you tell them that, but in the process of that, not only do you disregard the possibility that they wouldn't get mad, or that they maybe would just get a little bit mad and be like, oh, you, come on, dude, think, right? They also don't consider the possibility that they would get even more mad if you just don't do it, or if you don't tell them, if you don't communicate with them properly about it. And surprise, surprise, he doesn't tell Fern, and Fern gets even more mad than she would have probably been if he'd just been like, okay, I wanted to pick it out with you, because obviously this was one of his first experiences of getting a birthday present, and that was him actually picking it out with the person that was gonna pick it for them. So it makes sense he would want to do that, and it's also a nice social activity, right? Go along and just go shopping a little bit and find something useful, especially if you don't know anything that they would like, which is also very important. Now, obviously, Stark knows Fern for a while now, but the thing is, this is not necessarily something that you can glean from what a person would like as a present, necessarily. And also, I think Stark, as a man and warrior, I mean, he has a great fit, right? But who picked out that fit? That would also be the question. Was it Frieren or Fern? Because I could imagine that. I could also imagine him not being all that fashionable, maybe. Or not all at least that interested or knowledgeable about women's fashion, at the very least. So that is another thing, and that's another reason maybe why he didn't know what else she would want. He like, okay, maybe she wants an accessory or something, clothes or whatever, although clothes are very expensive in these times, I think, unless magic actually alleviated that. But yeah, that is one of those classic miscommunications, and then both of them are mad at each other, or at least don't know how to talk to each other. And as Science says later, it's the privilege of the truth of the youth to get to have those little arguments. And when you get older and you have made more experiences like that, you learn to avoid those arguments to begin with, right? To do the right things, or at least to properly communicate, to not get into an argument all too much. And he picks something for her, which nice, and she thanks him for the advice. And I do really like how Sign fits into this whole dynamic of the group. Like I said, he's an adult, in addition to Frieren, and Frieren is not your typical adult. She's an elf adult, so different cultures, different lifespan, different, right? She's very awkward with emotions, and I think that is one thing that Sign has as an advantage. He is very experienced with adult things. He's very experienced with romance. He's very experienced with don't know if he's very experienced with romance, but he seems experienced with romance, and he's very experienced with emotional stuff. He isn't awkward around emotions, as opposed to Frieren, and that is the contrast that we have here, where he can fill that gap of the grown-up, the adults in the party, but also the one who doesn't have a problem dealing with these emotions, and maybe doesn't have a problem passing on some of his knowledge and wisdom and experience to the other generation, and he himself actually gets something from that as well, right? We do have, if we look at psychological theories, there's a big part about growing older that aside from, right, experiencing love and closeness and experiencing self-efficacy and gaining abilities, right, proving yourself, there's also the fact about passing on the things that you've learned and the content of your life, right? Basically, whatever you lived through to the next generation, and guide them along the lines to lead them to continue what you started, more or less, right? And while Frieren has a lot to teach in that regard, I think the things that Sign possibly has to teach are in a completely different area. So there's a cool dynamic going on there. Because obviously Frieren is a little bit awkward. She has a hard time expressing her emotions, even if she has them and understands them at this point and realizes all of that. And she's a little bit anti-social, right? And she is socially lazy, I would say. That's normally a thing that introverts have a lot, that they're like, I don't want to go through the effort of doing all of this socially, right? I could do it, I know how it's done, right? Maybe I really want to do it in some cases, but I can't keep it up for the entirety of the time. So sometimes I'm being tired because of all the energy I invest in those emotional things. And it's just what happens that for some people it's a lot more exhausting to engage with people. Anyway, Fern and 𝐸𝐷 make up. Really great thing. 𝐸𝐷 looking at HIMmel and maybe asking himself, what would HIMmel do in this situation? And turning around and being like, getting that resolve, gaining that from his idol, and saying, I'm sorry, look, here's the thing. I wanted to pick it with you. I was afraid what you're gonna think, right? I was afraid you're gonna get mad again because you're coming back, right? We know Fern is very, very prone to getting mad or pouting or right? So it makes sense to a degree, and he doesn't want to upset her. That also proves that he cares a lot about her, and the fact that he didn't forget, despite the fact that the tradition wasn't a thing in his childhood, is also something very important and notable. So yeah, they apologize to each other and they move on. And Frieren playing little spy, just like Sign up on the rooftops, playing the assassin stalking them. But also being the parent, right? Looking down on your kids, being like, okay, I'm glad you made up on your own. I'm glad I don't have to intervene here. I remember that one scene in Kaguya season 1 with Ishigami and the exams and learning, and both of them kind of being there, and Shirogane being like, okay, looks like I don't have anything to do here. I was just making sure. And I think this is kind of the thing. They're just trying to make sure that it works out well. And interestingly enough, Sign points out, she went to me before she went to you. That's a very interesting thing. And yes, it is. And I think Frieren is very well aware of that she is awkward with that, and that she has trouble with that, but also that she feels she has a duty to do it anyway, because she was there despite her. She could have just said, okay, you know what, Sign's probably gonna do it, but she was like, okay, I am actually the person who is very closely connected to them, who is their friend or mentor for a long time now, so I'm going with them, and I'll see that they make up, or if not, I might intervene. And yeah, we talk a little bit about Heiter and how he was very how he constantly lied and was drinking on the job, and it was nauseous and hungover oftentimes, which is absolutely hilarious. That he wasn't very, like, maybe he wasn't the most morally problematic person, but he was not all that reliable. But we see that with a lot of the members of the Heroes Party, right? Aizen not, but Heiter and Frieren especially, they both have that unreliableness. He through his drinking, and she through her somewhat laziness and waking up late and being too late for all of these moments. And yeah, she puts the distinction down. She's like, but you're more corrupt. But we don't know that, right? I mean, he's smoking, right? He's drinking, but we haven't seen him being unreliable so far, which is really cool. And maybe I think this relationship is mutual in this case, because what he can do for the kids, he gets something out of it. Like I said, a lot of, like, one of the important stages of life is that, right? That you pass on all of this stuff that you have done to your children or to the next generation in general. And a lot of people, when they grow older, will have that desire to do so. Yeah, and that is one of the, I don't even know whose was it? Was it Erickson or something? One of those big social psychologists who talked about developmental psychology and what happens at specific points in our lives with the developmental crises we go through. Oh, yeah, Heiter gotten a little bit wise in his old age, and I really like that scene, the atmosphere of it, and also the expression he uses, where he's like, in a way, I'm still a child on the inside. I'm just pretending to be an adult because those kids need me, right? They need me to be an adult. They need somebody to be steadfast, to guide them, to be supportive. And that's interesting that possibly Fern is the one who gave him that, because it's not only that he was growing older and was happening naturally, that is the case more often than not, but also that he now had somebody to take care of and to guide. And that changed him. Even if on the inside he's still the very same kid, and honestly, that's a good thing. Stay that kid. It's important to not lose these aspects of yourself that are truly amazing, that all of us adore in kids. But yeah, at some point you have to at least pretend to be an adult, and here's to pretending to be an adult, because that's cool. Yeah, and we have the throwback. Frieren throws that thing back at him where he's like, at one point, when I'm dead, the goddess will praise me, but I'll have to wait until then. And Frieren's like, well, as long as the goddess doesn't praise you, I'll praise you down here. And that is incredibly beautiful, right? Because he said that to her very early on in their adventures, and maybe said it a couple of times because it seems to be more or less a saying in their faith. But she does it, and she gives out the head pats, and it's all very wholesome. I do really love all of these shots of her being very adoring and very warm towards people, because you see more and more of her emotionality, and that deep down Frieren, even if elves in general would be less emotional, which is not a theory that has any proper support, even then she would be somebody who is more on that emotional line, which spending time with humans can do that. But yeah, and he hates it. He absolutely hates it, but he also enjoys it, right? This is like kind of like the love-hate thing. But she praises him for being a proper adult and helping it. And he picks up something nice. We find out later that it was very stressful, but really cool, really cool. And she picks up the ring. This is how we get into the first. Fred's like, holy shit, are you unorganized or disorganized? You don't find anything. And then she picks it up, and their carriage gets carried away by a fucking by a giant ass bird. But yeah, apparently flying spells only got invented 40 years ago, by humans. And the interesting thing about this is not that little fun fact, but the fact that you actually, which kind of we knew before already with the flowers and whatnot, but that you actually have to conceptualize how it works before you can cast it yourself. I do wonder if Frieren was actually involved in introducing the flying spells to humans, because she had to do a lot with demons. She lived around that time and was active around that time. And the heroes party had a lot to do with demons as well. Although I might say 40 years is a lot. We are 30 years past HIMmel. No, you know what? 40 years is actually not that much. Actually, Frieren could have been very heavily involved in that. Very well, because she also was very heavily involved in doing 𝐸𝕓𝕠𝕦𥬮 and all of that. So 30 years ago, HIMmel died, and 50 years before that, they had the Heroes Party thing. So yeah, that could have been perfectly fine that Frieren on her travels at some point went to a magic place, and then they actually she helped them figure that out. That is a possibility. But yeah, she flies up, and it's very interesting that she assumed 𝐸𝕓𝕠. Like she does a lot of assimilation with 𝐸𝕬 and 𝐈𝐦𝐩. She automatically assumes the things that go for 𝐈𝐦𝐩 and that work for 𝐈𝐦𝐩 actually work for 𝐸𝕬𝕠 as well. Which creates these funny moments where she's like, what, 𝐸𝕬𝕠 was able to take like 15 poison arrows, or could dive off a cliff and be absolutely unhurt. I guess that's dwarven resistance for you, but we don't know if it's the dwarven thing or if it's just 𝐈𝐦𝐩 and he's extraordinary even among dwarves. But either way, it's absolutely funny all the time. Whenever it happens, he's indestructible. But yeah, they're thinking, but they don't have the time. The bird's already going down and trying to kill them. So she shoots the shot, but she's very reckless, of course. And they make an entire dive. I said, Roach, is this you? Because there in The Witcher 3 in the beginning there was a lot of glitches where you call your horse Roach. Geralt calls his horse Roach. And it would appear on rooftops and whatever. It's very, very funny, but yeah. Everybody was thankfully unhurt, but they need to repair the cart, so they're stuck for a while. And she notices the ring is gone, which is a shame. We talk a little bit about the gift, and she apparently Fen was like, you choose the gift for me. So 𝐸𝕬𝕠𝕦, I'm very sorry. I can only imagine how hard it is, because when I have to pick gifts for family members or whatever, it's really hard because I never know what I'm gonna pick. So oftentimes I'm just end up with something where I'm like, okay, I guess they would enjoy it. I guess the thought counts, but I'm still not satisfied with it. But yeah, he had to gauge her reactions, and she apparently liked that one, which is really cool. And Sign gives us a little bit of an update. Apparently, this lotus means eternal love, and we do have that little gaze, which I think, I mean, this tells you all, right? It's the bond is forming, and it's really, really beautiful to see. But also, obviously, he didn't know, and Fen also knew she didn't know, so that's fair enough. You're an idiot after all. Harsh as always, Fen, but it's tough love, right? She's a very really tsundere about him, so it's fine, and it makes sense, right? You keep your emotional distance a little bit. We talked about it. Maybe in a way she might be afraid of losing people that she grows attached to. For Frieren, that isn't that big of a deal. For 𝐸𝕬𝕠𝕦, that might be more of a deal. But even then, it's embarrassing to show your feelings, especially at that age, to be outward with affection. So oftentimes you just mix it up, right? A hit on the shoulder and then a little bit of warmth coming afterwards. But yeah, and we do have that little talk, and obviously or apparently that's the assumption 𝐸𝕬𝕠𝕦 makes. Fen didn't know either. She was like, what, were you gonna say something? And he's like, no, never mind, I don't want to make you any more mad. And he's like, should I buy you a replacement? Yeah. But she's like, you put a lot of effort into that, so don't ever say that again. And he takes it a little bit, he's a little bit sad about getting that rebuke, but she meant it well, right? She's like, don't put your effort down. I appreciate it. But I mean, you got a tough job ahead of you, 𝐸𝕬𝕠𝕦, if you want to start with Fen. But there's a good reason why Frieren was like, nah, I'll keep it, because there's some feelings going on there. Also, Frieren, don't be lazy, okay? 𝐸𝕬𝕠𝕦 gets us a pig. We feast. have a little Food Wars mini episode here. Not really, but and we find out that Frieren has been searching for the ring all night, every night, for the last couple of weeks or days. So yeah, I mean, it's very important to her, right? Because 𝐿 gave it to her, and she wanted to give up on it, which is realistic, right? Yeah, at some point you gotta cut your losses and be like, okay, what's lost is lost, but if you have a chance, then go find it. And she thinks back on the day they had a little shopping date, and she picks something super quickly, and she's like, all right, I guess that'll do. But what are the chances she actually picks the thing that means eternal love? And then 𝐿 knows she didn't mean that, but he just smiles to himself, and he's like, oh, nothing, it's fine. And they have their little walk, and then I said don't, because this is so sad. He goes down on his knees and he puts it on her, and it's like almost a proposal, right? And I guess I don't know in how far she would take it that way, because we know Frieren is not dumb. She's intelligent, and at this point she knows about cultures of humans, so it's quite possible that she did perceive it as that, even if emotionally she processed it differently, that she was like brushing it away or just, but that moment was important to her. We see that, and it was important to 𝐿 as well. And yeah, that's why the ring was important to her, held emotional value. She's like, aren't you glad that you didn't give up on searching for it? And she's kind of taking it close to her heart and says, maybe, because she can't admit it completely, but she everybody who sees her, who knows her, would know that this is how it is. And then Frieren throws it back. She's like, by the way, why are you wearing that, right? Now that I know what it means. And then Fan is like, because Stark is an idiot. Mr. Stark is an idiot. Stark someone. But yeah, very interesting. Again, I need to re-listen to what she calls other people, because she always says Stark Summer, but I rarely hear her. I mean, she might be saying Frieren Summer, but she definitely doesn't say Sign Summer, I think. But I might be wrong. I mean, you can correct me in the comments if you want to. Either way, cool episode, really nice episode. One thing I really love about these episodes is that the anime actually takes its time. It doesn't need to be spectacular all the time. We do have cool animation in there with when she shoots the bird. That is a really cool piece of animation. It's not enormous, but it's really cool. And it's just in there. But what the show does really well, in my opinion, is just set up the amazing atmosphere and creating a real sense of the time you spent there. Much like actually Made in Abyss that I have on that is my other reaction. Made in Abyss actually also does a good job at taking you along for the adventure and making you feel like you're part of the adventure, but in a completely different way than Frieren does. And both of them are beautiful and incredible. And I do really love these moody moments. And now obviously oftentimes they're gonna get cut out of my reaction, because I'm like, what am I gonna do, right? I'm just enjoying this moment. Obviously I can say it's a beautiful moment, but other than that, I'm just enjoying it. And then I'm just gonna cut part of it out because copyright and all these other things. But still, it's great moments like these that really put the atmosphere of the show a level above a lot of other shows, in my opinion. And I think one of the reasons why Frieren is so popular right now, and why so many people like it, and even the people who are maybe not really hyped about it are still appreciating it for what it is that it touches upon so many things that a lot of us can relate to. Be it the small little things of this always happens with miscommunication and whatever, or be it the big things about big emotional moments in our lives that define us, that define what we do and what we are going forward. But yeah, Guys, if we do like my videos, I would really appreciate to have you give me a like and subscribe to the channel to not miss any more videos. I do have a couple of stuff coming up. It's not anytime soon, but I'm actually gonna react to a movie at some point, which is gonna be my 100 subscriber special. I'm still gathering the suggestions for that, and then we're gonna go to voting maybe on Patreon if there's enough people to vote on Patreon. If there's not enough in the end, I might garner additional votes on the Discord and on the YouTube and see how we go with that. I already have 2 or 3 suggestions, but it would be cool to hear more, of course. You can check out my analyst down in the description and see what I've already watched, so you don't suggest things that I've already seen. I can obviously do a rewatch, but most of the time that's not good for a reaction. Either way, I would really like for you to join the Discord, join the discussion, just discuss about all kinds of anime things. Right at the moment, basically, I'm saying like that, basically nothing is going on, so you can be a lurker if you want to. Or you can bring more life into the Discord. That would be cool to grow a little community, to just talk about interesting things, be it psychology, be it philosophy, or Frieren, or Made in Abyss, or anything beyond that is anime or games or movies. All of these things are amazing, so I would really appreciate if you if you joined me for that on the Discord. Either way, I do have a Patreon. If you are interested in seeing Made in Abyss 1 week early, and if you're interested in seeing Frieren maybe 2 or 3 days early, I decided just now that I'm gonna put timer reactions of Frieren onto Patreon the day when I actually, or the day after I recorded it. So that's a cool thing, so you can maybe get in on that. And a couple of days later I'm probably gonna have the edited reaction, which is then gonna go public the week after. Not an entire week, more like 3 to 4 days, depending on how I can manage it and what else I got on my schedule. But that is kind of a compromise where I can give you Frieren a little bit early and a full reaction with the timer and the picture-in-picture as well. And at the same time, have a little bit of time to do that edited reaction that a lot of you guys seem to also enjoy. I'm going to do that for now, and I'm going to see how much time that leaves me with and how much pressure and whatnot. Maybe we'll, at some point when exams are over, which is now the exam phase is actually going to start in January. I still have December, but I want to keep up with the material and whatnot, because this semester is actually pretty important for me. But afterwards, we're gonna have a month or 2 where we can have maybe 1 series more and get going with that, and that would be really cool. Maybe I'm gonna start something up. Jujutsu Kaisen is one of the front runners that I've already mentioned a couple of times, but there's a lot of other things that I could look at. Girls Last Tour as another example. Either way, I hope you enjoyed this reaction, and I'll see you in the next Frieren or Made in Abyss reaction.